Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking you, greeting you, that it is exactly 3 months since we met. It was on the 4th of August 2024 when we briefed you about the plans of the Department of Water and Sanitation. Today we are coming to you to outline what is that we have achieved during the 100 days since in office. This report covers from the 3rd of July to the 11th of July. The thrust of our report is continuity, building on the solid foundation that was built and accelerated during the 6th administration. The country, in terms of water balance, the country is fine. I know this question always comes, are we safe? What is the water security in the country? I am saying the country in terms of water is well balanced, but there is a localized deficit, especially coming from Gauteng province as well as eThekwini municipality. Reasons being that the growing population in the two areas, Gauteng province and eThekwini, the growing population, the growing economy, the non-revenue water, the decay infrastructure, it also play into the crisis where these areas might not have water. Hence, we have applied certain measures to ensure that there is no water that is cut altogether. The department is currently undertaking water sector reforms, which are aligned to Operation Vulindlela program led by the president. Operation Vulindlela aims to modernize and transform network industries. With regard to the water sector, its focus include, amongst others, the president has signed the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency. When we met with you in August, we said we are awaiting for the president to assent that bill into law. It has now been signed into law, and that law now, it assists us to amalgamate Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, the water trading entity, as well as our branch in the construction branch in the Department of Water and Sanitation. The function of this National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency is to ensure that it includes going out to markets for finances, because you are aware, ladies and gentlemen, that the fiscus is unable to fund all the water resource projects, and therefore, according to the Act, we are allowed to go out and approach financial markets. So this agency is going to do exactly that, to ensure that there is operation, maintenance, and national water treaties that are signed and that are administered and monitored throughout. The establishment of the remaining catchment management agency. You will remember that we outlined that there is a Water Service Act that dictates to us that we must establish management agencies, and we have done that. Out of 6 expected, we have already established 5 catchment management agencies, and they are gazetted. The recruitment process for the final 6 catchment agency was completed, and the board will be appointed shortly. All other 5 are covered. Improving turnaround time for the issuing of water use license. We have been attacked several times that DWS take long to issue licenses, water licenses, but we made a commitment that we are going to come up with a turnaround, and indeed there is a turnaround. Licenses are now issued within 90 days compared to 3 months that we used to do. In September 2024, the department processed 73% of licenses application within the 90 days. This is significant improvement from 62% processed within 90 days on an average during the 2022-2023. So there is fast tracking of that. Reform on municipal water sanitation services. Through the amendment of Water Services Act, the department seeks to address the underlying structural causes of widespread deterioration of municipal water services. I've interacted with a lot of media houses, and thank you very much for putting our people on the light of saying what is really happening in the water sector. I said our mandate is that of water resource management, is that of regulation. But when it comes to water provision, it is the mandate of municipalities as enshrined in Section 27 of the Constitution. And that Constitution says we as a department can play a supporting role to the municipalities. But the crisis and the lack of water access to our people is caused by lack of provision of that water through the mandate by municipalities across the country. So we are engaging on municipalities. So this amendment that we're talking about here today, it's going to assist us to provide and meet the minimum capability requirement of the public comments received during this public consultation process, and to the chief state law advisor. And we have received a lot of contribution from the ordinary citizens, because everyone is interested on the issue of water, as we understand that water is critical, water is life. The Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority. During these 100 days, the department and the entity, the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, continued with implementation of the 14 major national water infrastructure project at a cost approximately of 100 billion, aimed at securing raw water security, because we have that mandate of ensuring that we build and secure raw water security for the country. I outlined about 14 projects during our first briefing. Today, we want to say that TCTA has gone out to financial markets, and already we have started the process of Lesotho Highlands phase 2 to supply additional water for Gauteng and surrounding areas, which amount to 42 billion, 28 billion construction of a new dam and transfer tunnel of Umkomazi River in KwaZulu-Natal. On the 7th, we'll be visiting this project, because there is a lot of work that has already been done here that will assist to give more capacity to eThekwini municipality, Ugu, and other surrounding municipalities. The 6.5 billion raising of the wall of Klein Willem Dam in the Western Cape. When we raise the dam, people think that we are not doing anything because we are not building a new dam. You raise the capacity. So people want to see us starting a new dam. So we also have a right to raise dam when we see that the capacity of that dam is not enough in terms of providing raw water. There is a 750 million raising of the wall of Zanin in Limpopo. The department also continued with all its maintenance activities on national water infrastructure. The Lesotho Highlands project tunnel. A planned maintenance, as we reported to the media some time ago, that a planned maintenance operation of the Lesotho Highlands water project tunnel, which entailed a total shutdown, commenced on the 1st of October 2024. We visited the tunnel just a week before the tunnel was shut down, to ensure that all was in a good order, that we can now close down. We engage all municipalities that are benefiting out of the Lesotho tunnel. We met with our counterparts in Lesotho, and we ensured that nobody is going to suffer during these 6 months. The water storage that we have go beyond 6 months up to 9 months. However, we want to deliver this maintenance plan within 6 months. We don't want to go to 9 months. We have also drilled boreholes around those areas of the municipalities, the Nketwane municipality Mafube, Ditlabeng, as well as made provision that when dam level of Val goes down in terms of the water capacity, we are going to release water from other dams like the Sterkfontein Dam and other surrounding dams to ensure that there is no lack of water during this maintenance. Specific work has already taken place on Friday the 15th. We are also inviting media. Will be touring that tunnel, that because already the work is happening there. So I want to ensure that it will be now on the 15th will be a month after we have shut down the tunnel. So we want to go there and check progress. We wish to ensure all citizens in affected municipalities that there is sufficient water storage for the next 6 months and that they will continue to have access to water during the entire shutdown period. On Sunday River Conveyance Canal, there has been a cry around Nelson Mandela Gqeberha. A carefully coordinated 24-hour per day maintenance project on the Sunday's River Conveyance Canal was successfully implemented by the department on the canal over a week during July, without causing significant disruption to water supply to Nelson Mandela Gqeberha and to the farmers. The canal shutdown was successfully undertaken to ensure reliability and sustainability of water supply to users. The work done included the demolishing of existing canal at the upstream and downstream and surface preparation. The launch of Anti-Pollution Forum. On the 3rd of October, the ministry launched an anti-pollution forum to coordinate efforts to improve water quality in the Vaal River system. But it is not only on the Vaal River system. Our rivers are polluted across the country, so we'll be continuing to launch this anti-pollution forum. The ministry carried out the oversight visit to Springfontein Farms in Kopanong local municipality in Free State to assess the state of sewage pollution of the rivers, which was eventually affecting the agricultural activities. In the Msukalikwa local municipality in Mpumalanga province, the purpose of the oversight visit was to assess the impact of the pollution of water resources, especially in the Vaal River system. The Middle Letaba water challenges in Limpopo. Another regularity responsibility of the department is to ensure that water user licenses conditions are adhered to. In this regard, the ministry appointed an independent panel to investigate the irregularities that are happening there. We have appointed the judge, the retired judge, Bernard Ngwepe, to investigate allegations of overuse of water by farmers in the Middle Letaba catchment area, upstream of the Middle Letaba. The investigation commenced in July and it will be finalized in due course. And I want to make a call to all those who are farmers, those who are owning dams, that no one is allowed to illegally store water and hogging, especially that is going to impact on the people that are in the downstream. So if you have a water license, if you are running a farm, make sure that when you use water, you allow other people to use water. Don't block water. Dam collapse in Swartland municipality in the Western Cape. One of the department's responsibility is regulation and the safety of dams. The media will remember that in August, during those heavy rains, 4 dams failed in Riverlands. And during these 100 days, we went there to view those dams, to assess the dams, and our findings were made public that all the 4 dams were not registered. And they've caused a huge damage to municipality and its infrastructure, as well as to communities. The preliminary report of our investigations found that original owner of the farm who built the dams failed to obtain legal required approval from the department for the design of the dams, and that subsequent owners failed to register the dams in the department. Following the release of the investigation report, the department issued a directive to the current owner of the dam to safely decommission all the 4 failed dams. All those dams are on the stream, so you might not see the dams when you are walking passing by River Lens, because they have blocked the stream to build those dams. We are also making a call, as we did in August, that all those who are owners of the dams with no registered licenses, they must apply. Failing to do that, we are going to decommission all the dams. Jagersfontein Tailing Dam in the Free State. The media made a lot of coverage on Jagersfontein when this happened. The department completed its comprehensive technical investigation into the 2022 failure of the Jagersfontein Tailing Dams in the Free State, which resulted to 3 deaths and 1 person missing, as well as extensive damage to public and private property. The report has been submitted to the National Prosecuting Authority following the laying of criminal charges against the dam owners by the department during the 2022. If there is no compliance, we have a right to lay criminal charges, especially if there is no cooperation from those who are owning the dams. Tourism and recreation works along the dams. Dams can be good in terms of economic growth, and therefore we have made a request for expression of interest issued by us as a department for proposal to develop tourism and recreation related to department's dam was finalized, and 300 applications have been received. We are processing those applications because certain people want to build recreational facilities next to our dams so that they can make those dams user-friendly to ordinary people. Water and sanitation challenges in Gauteng. For the past month, we have been inundated with calls when we restricted water to Gauteng. And I've been asked about my comment when I said, this is a self-inflicted pain. Yes, I repeat, it is a self-inflicted pain by municipalities of Gauteng, because we want the municipalities of Gauteng as early as June to say, please take care of your water infrastructure, because you are losing a lot of water. It is important to state that there is no drought in Gauteng. However, the province is experiencing water security challenges, which include credit management issues, water losses, aging infrastructure, illegal connections, illegal mining, and servitude encroachment. The Ministry of Gauteng and the provincial government have intervened to address the challenges by calling on all municipalities in Gauteng to impose water restrictions. Hence, Gauteng is on water restriction level 1. Upgrading of the infrastructure by all municipalities, strict credit management system, ensure proactive governance, and exploring alternative water sources around Gauteng. And I must confirm here to you media houses present that the Premier of Gauteng, the MEC, and all municipalities were meeting on a weekly basis to ensure that we adhere to all the water restrictions, but also municipalities are responding very positive in terms of closing the leaks and disconnecting the illegal connections and enforcing the bylaws. Hammanskraal. Hammanskraal, you all know what happened in Hammanskraal. On the 24th of August, the ministry visited Hammanskraal to oversee the 750 million project being implemented as part of our intervention on what happened in Hammanskraal. We are doing this through Magalies Water Board to enable provision of clean, safe and drinking water. The project involves the construction of additional water treatment capacity in the Magalies water treatment works near Hammanskraal. The ministry also carried out a site inspection in Rooival water waste treatment works to review the progress of the municipality's project to refurbish the work. On the 16th of November 2024, the department will be launching phase 1 of this project of Hammanskraal. It was supposed to happen by end of October, but there are few snags that we're attending to. Hence, we are launching the phase 1 on the 16th of November. That will give provision of additional 125 megaliters. You'll remember that these come in phases. So there are about 4 phases in that project. So the first phase is the one that will be handing over on the 16th, the next Saturday. Mfuleni. On the 25th of August 2024, the ministry carried out an oversight visit to Mfuleni local municipality, where the department, through Rand Water, is implementing 7.5 billion intervention in terms of Section 63 of Water Service Act to address the sewage pollution from the municipality's wastewater treatment system. As a result of our intervention, the number of frequency of sewer spillages into the street and the people's home has been significantly reduced. Work is continuing to completely eradicate sewage pollution in the municipality. A special purpose vehicle by the Rand Water and Mfuleni local municipality is in a process of being established to ensure that by the time we pull out as a department, there must be an entity that works with municipality, which is called a special purpose vehicle, to ensure that they sustain the what we have done and ensure that the sewer spillages are no more day-to-day activities of that area. Gauteng Water Imbizo. Having said a lot about Gauteng, we also held of Imbizo with all mayors and municipal managers and CFOs of Gauteng. We are focusing on Gauteng because of the Gauteng is a mega province that has economic, which is an economic hub of the country, and there is no way that we can ignore Gauteng. The administration of government is here, so we had to give focus to Gauteng. The population is growing day by day in Gauteng, so hence we made it a point that an agreement was then reached on the causes of the water supply, which I've already alluded to. We further created a platform for water secure Gauteng, which is the theme that is driven by the Premier of Gauteng, Premier Panyaza, of which we are very thankful to have such cooperation from them. The platform is currently raising funds which will be used for a major public communication and awareness campaign in the province regarding the need to use water sparingly. Water supply and sewage pollution challenges in eThekwini. During this period of 100 days, the DG, Dr. Phillips, chaired the Water and Sanitation work stream of the presidential eThekwini working group. You'll remember when eThekwini had some challenges, the president had to intervene and appointed a presidential eThekwini working group. So that working group is turning the situation around in ensuring that eThekwini is also compliant. The department, the TCTA and Umngeni Uthugela Water Board are all playing important roles in assisting the city to address its water supply and sanitation challenges, including the construction of Umkomazi Water that will be visiting on the 7th. The construction of the Ngwadini Dam and the new water treatment plant at the lower Umkomazi River by the Water Board. But also we have handed over the Halzemere dam water upgraded by the department to meet water needs of the growing population of the north coast of eThekwini, which we raised with a wall with 7 meters to increase the storage capacity and to augment water supply. It will increase water supply in eThekwini, in Ilembe, as well as Kwatukuza. Water boards. One of the first priorities of the ministry on assuming office was to meet with all 7 boards. Remember, we had 9 boards, but 2 boards went bankrupt and they had to be dissolved. So now we have 7 boards. As of 24 June 2024, a debt owed by the municipalities in our water board was standing at 22 billion. Two water boards, namely the Val Central and Mahalis, were experiencing cash flows problems due to non-payment by municipality as they were facing bankruptcy. The ministry is keenly aware that ensuring the financial sustainability of the water sector is one of the paramount importance to support economic growth and achieve reliability and sustainability of water supply. We had to address this matter by ensuring that we call all premiers, all mayors, all municipalities that are owing the water boards province by province. All these municipalities, as I speak now, they have committed on the payment cycle. They are paying their invoices, whilst they have huge amounts that they are owing. But now there is a political will to pay and to service their debts. Something that was not there before we came to the department, because municipalities were just ignoring all the invoices. We are also engaging with the department, with COCTA as well as National Treasury, that all municipalities who are not paying their invoices, they must not get their equitable share up until they pay those invoices. We're also making a call to all national departments, provincial departments, and entities who are owing municipalities, because municipalities are also owed, but also the user pay policy must also be implemented. Those who are using water must pay for the services that they get. The debts are a problem of 6 out of 7 water boards, but we have received cooperation from all premiers across the country. During these first 100 days, engagements were held with Limpopo, Free State, Northern Cape, Northwest, and Eastern Cape province. I'm not raising Western Cape. Western Cape does not have a lot of challenges in terms of payment, but also these provinces, there are municipalities that are servicing their debts who are not really owing our water boards. But the danger is that in Free State, most of municipalities of Free State are owing water boards. There's a municipality that owes water board close to 7 billion, one municipality. And if the water board collapse, it's not only going to affect that Machabeng water board, Machabeng local municipality, but it is going to affect the entire Free State, because the water board will be unable to process water for the entire Free State, for Northern Cape, and some part of Northwest. That is why we had to take this upon ourselves to ensure that we engage direct with municipalities and with the National Treasury and COCTA. Support to municipalities to improve water services. On the 17th of September, the ministry launched 260 million upgrade in the James Cleanance water treatment works in Makana local municipality. Makana local municipality has been embedded for years with lack of water access. Even last week, I think I saw some news report about Makana. We handed over this state-of-the-art treatment plant. It involved increasing the capacity of the municipality water treatment works with 10 megaliters per day, which aim at reducing the supply disruption in Makana. Those who attend the National Arts Festival, you will know that during that time you might not get water in Makana. So we're also responding to all the cries from the business sector as well as from our communities. 1 billion project in Nelson Mandela Bay. Nelson Mandela has been known of a lot of leaks. You'll remember the war on leaks was launched in Nelson Mandela, whilst he has not really assisted us at the time. The ministry also launched the completion of the first phase of the 1 billion project to reduce non-revenue water in Nelson Mandela Ekabeja. With the support of the department, the municipality secured funding for the project through the budget facility for infrastructure in National Treasury. And the funding is managed by the department through the regional bulk infrastructure grant. The project involves the installation of pressure-reducing valves, repairs of major leaks, water pipes, as well as installation of water meters, something that was not there. Through this 1 billion project intervention, we have achieved that. Joe Gabi. We visited Joe Gabi, Singu municipality, as well as Walter Sisulu municipality. The reason was to assess the capacity of State water treatment plant which is dysfunctional. The department is currently repurposing its budget to upgrade and refurbish the water treatment works for 2024-2025 financially. In the long term, the department is undertaking feasibility study for additional water treatment plant. What was hurting there is that there are people who vacated their land and sites to ensure that the dam is built. There's a big dam there, Hulu Hlahatsi Dam, but 4 to 6 villages around that area where the dam is, they are not getting water. That is the same pain with Nandoni. The area of Vembe, where the dam is, people who vacated the area, they are not getting water. Instead, they are saying to me, they are benefiting mosquitoes because of the dam. They are benefiting cold because of the dam. They are benefiting crocodiles because of the dam, and it cannot be on. So we have agreed that must be attended to. We must ensure that our value chain in terms of water resource must be from the source up to the tap, to ensure that when we are done with the dam, we must ensure that the municipality is able to connect. But the first and people that must be prioritized are those people that are just around the dam, so that there can be stability. Guyana Water Project in Limpopo. On the 6th of September, the ministry and the deputy president, Mr. Paul Mashatile, carried out an oversight visit to the notorious Guyana Water Project that has been spoken about for many years. The project was blocked, but we agreed that whilst the investigations are happening, let's unblock the project. Let people not suffer because of fraud and corruption allegations that happened in the past. Let's proceed with this mega project. The project consists of construction of a bulk raw water pipeline from Nandoni Dam in the north of Guyana to Nsami Dam in Guyana, as well as the refurbishment and upgrading of the municipal water treatment works in Guyana. The project also includes the construction of 325 kilometers of bulk pipelines to supply water from Guyana water treatment to the villages in Guyana. It further includes reticulation of water by Mopani District Municipality to 55 villages around Guyana, of which the first phase of 24 villages to date, reticulation to 11 out of 24 villages have been completed, and these villages are now receiving water in their yards. We do have a program that is called In-Yard Connection, working with municipalities. Whilst there are still people who are getting water from standpipes, but we also have the project that is called In-Yard Connection to avoid illegal connection, because illegal connection make people to block water for others not to get. The remaining 13 of the 24 villages will be completed by December 2024. The second phase of this will be reticulated for the 31 villages by April 2025. The ministry has given a directive to the department to prioritize funding of regional bulk infrastructure grant and the water service infrastructure grant. And the MIG must therefore address through the 10%, ensure that they ring fence for this to be achieved. Water complaints from communities. During these 100 days, we have received more than 250 complaints on a daily basis from communities across the country regarding water security issues. Most of the complaints are about water-related functions of municipalities, such as pipe bursts, leakages, water tankering, disruptions in supply of water, shortage of boreholes, water diversions by farmers, and water pollution. The ministry and department have promptly responded to such complaints using different approaches, such as involving the municipalities concerned and performing oversight functions, which include physical visit and referrals to the relevant authorities. We urge all communities to use our call center for us to be able to know their water challenges. The call center, which is 0800 200 200. On international front, the ministry attended the session on the water as part of the 79th session of the United General Assembly 23rd to 30th of September in New York. The focus was on mobilizing funding to address the water infrastructure investment gap in Africa. All countries, without any exception, they cry of a gap in terms of funding of water infrastructure. South Africa has submitted application to a water investment program facilitated by African Union for funding for major projects. The water investment program is supported by development finance institutions such as African Development Bank, Development Bank of South Africa, as well as the World Bank. There was also focus on preparation for the Africa Water Infrastructure Investment Summit, which will be hosted by South Africa on behalf of the AU in 2025. This is part of the GU leaders meeting, which will be hosted in South Africa, given that South Africa will be taking over presidency in the G20 group of countries in 2025. The ministry led a delegation of South African water sector and water boards, Lesotho Highlands Commission TCTA, to Stockholm World Water Week in Sweden. Thank you very much. In August, that Stockholm conference was in August 2024. The purpose of the visit was to influence global agenda on achievement of SDG 6 and position of South Africa as a preferred destination for investment in water and sanitation, as well as learning from the global community at large. During the Water Week, the ministry was in Denmark to strengthen the South Africa-Danish Strategic Water Sector Collaboration Program. Danish counterparts presented the Africa's Century Strategy for strengthening the Danish engagement with African countries. South Africa is in the priority of implementation strategy. Approximately 300 million DKK, which is 800 million, has been allocated to the implementation of the strategy. Areas of cooperation for South Africa and Denmark include water use efficiency in industries, urban water management, and groundwater management. During these 100 days, the ministry also held bilateral engagement with counterparts from Namibia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Eswatini, and Mozambique, because we are sharing rivers. And when we are sharing rivers, these are natural resources. We must all tap in these rivers. There's no one that must monopolize the river. We were in Egypt, where the issue of the Nile River is a political issue. And in SADC, I think we are very much fortunate that we understand that this is a water resource which cut across countries, and the water resource will not negotiate or seek for political mandate to cross your country. And when it crosses your country, you cannot block the river. You must allow other people to use the river. In conclusion, as the ministry, we are satisfied that the ministry of and the department made significant progress towards addressing the pressing challenges in water sector during this first 100 days. However, as long as communities in the rural areas, in the townships, don't get water on a daily basis, we cannot think that we've done our work. Whilst it is not our mandate, we must also put pressure on municipalities to ensure that municipalities do the right thing. They discharge on their mandate. The ministry and the department will continue to work with all stakeholders to address the challenges collaboratively. Water is life and sanitation is dignity. And all citizens of South Africa are called upon to treat water as a precious resource and use it sparingly. We are calling on all municipalities to implement the implementable, which is close the leaks, disconnect illegal connections, enforce bylaws, correct billing. If those 4 things can be adhered to by municipalities, then people will be able to get water. We're also calling for all citizens to use water sparingly. Let's not vandalize our water infrastructure. If you see a tap that has not been closed, just close the tap. That is your patriotic role as a South African. In those who are in Gauteng, when we have because we have put Gauteng on level 1 restriction, don't use hosepipe to wash your car. Don't unnecessarily just wash during the day, wash your pavement. Don't fill the swimming pools during the day. There are certain times when to fill your swimming pool. We're also making a call that all those who are polluting our rivers, they must stop it. They must stop polluting our rivers, and we are going to ensure that we report criminal case against them when they continue to pollute, but also they are going to pay for polluting our rivers. Those who have not registered their dams, we have a mandate and responsibility of demolishing those dams. So save yourself if you have a dam, and don't come closer to us, because if you don't adhere to registration of your dam, we'll come and demolish that dam. All of us as South Africans, as we move towards the festive season, we must use water sparingly. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much. I present the 100 days report. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for a comprehensive statement. Colleagues from the media, this is your time to pose questions. It's a Q&A session. 1, 2, 3. Where can we start? Let's start with you, Zola, and then you'll be second, my brother, and then we'll close with you.
Minister, thank you very much for your time.
Raise your voice.
There's no mobile mic.
Or can you come here? Yeah, if we can hear you, perhaps the best idea is for you to come a little closer. There's a mic. Okay.
Minister Zola Sholwana from Newsroom Africa. I listened to your report, and I think the first thing that came to mind was, we all understand that Hammanskraal has had an ongoing water issue, and what people want to know now is that what is the actual deadline? Because the former Minister of Water and Sanitation went to residents of Hammanskraal and promised them that by September this year, they'll have running water and all these issues will be resolved. We are in November now, and if you had to go back to communities like Temba, those residents are still hoping for a day where they actually have, access to quality water. The second question, Minister, is the issue of the pollution of the Van Dam. I just want to understand, how are you dealing with that? Because we know that it supplies millions of households in this particular province. So if it's polluted, then it means that huge communities are affected, particularly those that are from a municipality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My brother, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'm from France 24, and my question is about...
Your name?
My name's Graham Walsh.
Graham Walsh.
France 24.
Thanks.
Apparently, about a third of Johannesburg's water is lost due to leaks from broken infrastructure. What is the plan to fix broken pipes and fixtures? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My brother?
Minister, good morning. I was in Guyana last week, and what the people are saying and your statement now, they tend to differ. I don't know how, but Minister, can we come back here in April and you say to me all the villages of water, because people seem like they have lost hope. Number 2, on the ZZ2 issue, what are your compliance officers doing for you to institute a commission of inquiry that probably is costing you more money than having people to go and check the problem, the allegations that people are making on the blockages of water? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perhaps we can take this first. Do we have the fourth one?
Yes.
You can go ahead, my sister.
Is it at all possible assist these areas. And one of these areas is South Hill here in Johannesburg that has gone for 10 days without water.
Thank you very much. We will be guided by the leadership as to who takes which questions. Thank you very much. Dear Mahloba.
Your Excellency Minister Majodina Babes Wamanzi, DMC Tlulu, Ubayi Wamanzi, and then DG and all of you. No, thank you very much. I think what I will do, I will start with you, Nyambos Mbalentle from SAPC. The problems of water in Gauteng, and that will also address the matter that Graham Welsh were asking. You have to look at the question how the minister has been interacting with the province. One of the things that we are very pleased is that for the first time, there is a leadership and recognition by the Premier of the province that this matter of water, if they don't come closer them and we don't work as a collective, will not be able to achieve some of the things we've been engaging with municipalities. At least at the leadership level, we have Minister Majodina herself, Premier Lesufi, supported by MEC Mamabula, and all the mayors. In other words, there is that particular level where at least the water issue is being prioritized because it affects people, it affects the economy, it affects many other issues. In addition, Minister Majodina was saying to you, President appointed Deputy President Mashatile. Deputy President Mashatile leads a task team on water, but also a service delivery interministerial committee that is being convened by him this afternoon with Minister Majodina, Minister of COGTA, and ourselves as the relevant deputy ministers. In other words, the question of leadership is being taken very seriously. Apart from that, the ministry, we attended where we met every single councillor of Gauteng. It's happening for the first time. Where we met, we said a number of actions have to be taken if the province is going to arrest this deteriorating situation, where citizens are denied their right to access to water and all these other issues. I thought that's the most important point. The other points that the minister and the premier and all of us were grappling with is to say, what are the problems are we resolving? One of the problems we're resolving is just the management of the operations on daily basis. Minister has established a team led by the DG, or the DG normally dedicates to DDG Resmart Matter, who's our DDG responsible, with the CEO of Rainwater, Sipom and all the municipal managers and technical directors. What they do, they meet twice in the morning and in the afternoon. When they meet in the morning, they are looking at the state and the vulnerability of the system. Where are the water levels? Where are the reservoirs? Whether they are in a healthy position or they are not in a healthy position. That plan, then they manage the system as a live system. Because if there's a spike in a temperature like it's happening now, there's a heat wave, what do? You will have to respond to that particular problem. Therefore, that's the issues around issues of governance. But then there are issues about infrastructure decay. The challenge is about decay infrastructure. One of the issues that Minister, working with the teams and all of us, Gauteng in general, out of the 5 billion liters that Rainwater is treating per day, more than 2.2, 2.3 billion liters, they go to the ground. That is unsustainable. And it has an impact on revenue. Because if it goes to the ground, they will not be able to collect revenue. It has a revenue component. And what does it mean? They still have to pay the water from Rainwater. even if they can't sell the entire 5 billion liters, because it gets lost. The other water that gets lost to them is the water that Minister says. There are many people who are doing illegal connections. And there are also people who are doing the black market. Remember, illegal, these people who are selling water through the tankering, that's what is happening. And then, Graham, that matter of yours of the broken pipes, there are two components. One component is that all the pipes, mostly in Gauteng, they are very old. And the technology at the time was usually the AC pipes, which is your asbestos. And remember, Gauteng generally was a mining hub. There's a lot of fractures there. There are a lot of sinkholes, and it impacts on the structural integrity of that. You lose what? Then the minister says to you, but there are zamazamas here. They go in there underground. They affect our servitudes of rainwater. They also affect the other servitudes of municipality. Then the issues of the protection of the asset, which is the asset there. This is what causes leaks. The age of the asset, criminal activity that is happening there, the geological formations that are happening there. What is the solution? Municipalities have been directed by minister, because in Gauteng, the growth in population, whether through migration or birth or inward migration or from externally, it has actually far exceeded the capability of the asset. But at the very same time, the GDP growth, remember when you look at around 1 trillion rands around 1994, currently our GDP is around between 6 to 7 trillion. The more there's an economic, you will need more water. Minister has said to them, put money aside. Put money aside, you actually increase your bulk system. In other words, the reservoirs. That's why all these municipalities in their budgets, they are putting more reservoirs to cater for the growth and demand. But other people are living in a copy, high-lying areas. And when the water level is very low, you'll have to pump so that everybody has water. That's how this matter of attending the infrastructure, there is that particular component. But when this is happening, therefore you have to replace, because these pipes are old, you replace them. The leaks issue is two components. You replace the old pipes. Because sometimes, how can you fix an asbestos pipe that is not there? Then there's a component to say when the infrastructure is in a good condition, there will always be some burst, and the burst must be reported on time. That's why Minister talks to you. There's a guy who's an activist. He writes to all of us all the time and say, in corner of Johannesburg, in this corner, give us the GPS and say this is what is happening. That's how we're dealing with that particular problem. But then there's an issue to fix leaks. These municipalities have said, put money aside, ring fence the money. Whether from the water sales, from the grants, everything ring fenced, so that at least the money for water is dedicated to can deal with OPEX and CAPEX. But then they don't have the sufficient money for the demand they have. That's why there's this thing called the partnership platform. The DG is leading that platform with the World Bank, with the minister there. That platform was saying, Gauteng, we want them to reduce their water leaks or water use inefficiency. For an example, Ekurhuleni is trying, now they are below 30%. But sometimes you could see the graph, it escalates at a particular point, it shoots. Tshwane, they are struggling to bring it below the level. Johannesburg, they are doing the same. The last component when you deal with leaks, Graham, you must answer the question, the sustainability of our efforts. That's why ministers say the user pay principle, very, very important. Clean up the data, give the correct bills, people must pay, the indigent must deal with that. I think I'm addressing the issues that have to deal with both what Mbali and yourself are asking. There is a comprehensive plan. Now we must just put our shoulders on the wheel and stop talking and get us to respond. And at least there is a response, but we'll have to be hard on ourselves. And the call made by the minister at the end We will not be able to deal with all these issues if citizens, they too, they don't play their part. The relationship between citizens and water is an important issue, and there is a symbiotic relation. If citizens in Gauteng, they continue to wake up in the morning, it's about 8 degrees today in Pretoria, you decide to water the garden. When you know there's an evaporation, it's just not being wise, water-wise. When you actually go to a car washes, we don't want car washes to close, but they can't waste water as if there's too much water. Those two questions, I think I've dealt with them. The issue of Hammanskraal, Minister has reported to you. Hammanskraal has two components. One of the components is a temporary match. The temporary match, a minister put money aside, where Mahalis on the other side, they are actually building a package plant just to treat more water because there's a water availability. DG gave them a license to take more water. That plant is going to give you only 50 megaliters, which is 50 million liters. Hammanskraal does not actually need 50 million liters. It needs about more than 80 million. It's not going to be adequate. And Comrade Minister, we have been on record that this is not going to be a panacea of the challenges of Hammanskraal. This one now, there's been a delay. From an engineering point, there's a geological formation there. We're promising to do it by the end of October. Just to give the first phase. The first phase is 12.5 megaliters. 12.5. Next year, around April, at the end of the financial year, we'll add the others. Minister, I've seen the team there, and Deputy Mr. Siklule have gone there. The new mayor has gone on site now. Good progress is being made just to cross the barrier that is happening there. It will then, from around this month and towards the end of this month, we'll start to have water coming out. But guess what? It's not going to have water there and then in the system. We must scour the system. Remember, the pipes in Hammanskraal and Temba in particular. There's been a sewer water from the Temba treatment plant. You must clean it. Even by that time, from an operational point, about DG and the team, they will tell people to say, for so many days, don't use that water because there is that particular issue. But then the municipality in Tshwane, the main pipe is the treatment work, Rooival. The Rooival treatment work, a lot of work has happened there and millions of rands have been put in. The upgrades are happening and they are going to improve the water quality. And you know the story, what happened there, including president of the SIU. In Kiane, don't miss the point. We've been there with you, my brother. For the first time, you go to Homu, you go to Mninginisi and everywhere. That water, we're able to see water in people's homes. But minister says there are standpipes. Remember, we also drank the water there. And those contractors, remember, they are not on different levels. The additional ones to give us the 24, we're looking at now in December. But it's just being in the eye. The minister was with the president right now in Limpopo last week, you remember, on Friday. That matter is a priority matter. It's being looked at. We'll be able to deliver it. But if we are going to miss the point, like certain dates you can miss, either there is an inclement weather, it rains too much, the work must stop. Some people, they wake up and say, no, but we want to benefit here. You know, those people want 30%. And some people are doing certain things like vandalism. Those are issues that we call them objective factors, not within our control. Immediately they come into the fore, we'll communicate, but will not leave those citizens behind. Then the biggest one, to deal with the remaining 31 of them, Minister is introducing phase 2, where we'll look at our own funding. Ordinarily, we don't do what we do in Mopan. That thing of reticulating is not our job. But this ministry intervenes because citizens should never be left behind. And I'm very convinced that even yourselves, you have been making us to account. And I'm happy that you are keeping asking these questions. And we know we are shining light on us. As long as you continue to shine the light, we should not leave those communities of Kiane and elsewhere in South Africa.
No, all right. Good morning, everybody. Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister David Mahlobo, thank you so much for the opportunity. Just to get into it, Zola, in terms of a question on the pollution in the Vaal River. The reality is that South Africa is in a crisis in as far as pollution of our water resources is concerned. The Gauteng province discharges on average 160 million liters per day of raw sewage into our Vaal River system. If that is not a crisis, then I don't know what is. 40% of our economy is dependent on the Vaal River. It is therefore prudent on us as a department to take extraordinary steps to make sure that we work very hard in mitigating against this situation. Minister indicated in her remarks that the department is doing well in terms of the establishment of catchment management agencies as per the National Water Act. The Vaal Orange Catchment Management Agency has been established. It has a chairperson. There is a board in place. We've recently just approved the appointment of the CEO of that particular catchment management agency. We've also, as indicated by the minister, we've launched the Vaal River Anti-Pollution Forum. That particular forum is a stakeholder-driven forum that is chaired by one of the veteran stalwarts of the department, Maria Skiet, who worked for the department for over 3 decades. Together with the Vaal Orange Catchment Management Agency, the forum must be able to introduce innovative ways in which we will be able to identify the biggest polluters of the Vaal River system. And we know from a matter of oversight that municipalities, in terms of their dysfunctional wastewater infrastructure, they are the biggest contributors of pollution into the Vaal River and any other water resource across the country. The department in this financial year has spent well over 11 billion in terms of RBIG and WISIC grants. But here's the problem. The department is committed to making sure that grants are made available so that municipalities are able to refurbish, upgrade their water and sanitation infrastructure. The reality, however, and a sad reality that is that in 2 and 3 years' time, you go back to that infrastructure, it's back to square one. That is the question that we must be able to ask to municipalities in the context of their roles and responsibilities as outlined by the minister in terms of discharging their constitutional duties. You will recall also, because I would imagine that the media would be interested in and around the issue of Mogale City, you will recall that the department wanted to institute Section 63 intervention, as is the case what is happening in Mfuleni, to reprioritize 100 million rands in order to be able to begin work in that particular, to address the situation that is happening in Mogale City. At the time, they said no. We're now sitting with a situation where municipalities know that they're in a crisis, but are refusing intervention. We hope that with the new leadership of Mogale City, whom I will intend on meeting very soon, as the Deputy Minister responsible for securing our water resources from pollution, to be able to get a clearer picture on then what is the state of Mogale City and what do they intend to do, particularly from a financing point of view. We are also working very hard to establish our national polluter registry. We obviously, from the green drop point of view, we can't, just go and point people out and say you are a polluter. There are things that we need to look at so that we don't open ourselves up to litigation when we actually do identify people who are polluting and we begin to enter them into the national polluter registry. Because I do think that we also need to intensify, DG, our polluter pay principle. Because I don't think that that is something that we've been able to do well enough. And I do think that people are now polluting our river systems with impunity because the notices and directives that are issued by the department seem to not be working. And I place emphasis on municipalities because they are government and they are at the grassroots level of delivery. But it is not to say it's only municipalities. There's the agricultural sector in terms of their runoff, which also pollutes our water resources. There are businesses, there are mines, which also are polluting our rivers. And as a department, we are going to take firm action in and around that particular issue so that when people point at us as the custodian of the water resource infrastructure, as the regulators, we are able to respond to the call to say, but we have requested Mogale City to accept our intervention, they refused. So that we know that we are going far and beyond our means as a department in order to be able to address those particular issues. So I do hope that once we've worked around the modalities of the Vaal River Anti-Pollution Forum, working together with the Vaal Orange Catchment Management Agency at the ground level, we will be able to, at least in a certain given time period, be able to point out the reduction in terms of the pollution that is happening within the Vaal River system. We've got academia that is going to come on board. We've got business that is going to come on board. And we hope that the innovative technologies that will be able to allow us to track what chemicals and substances are in the Vaal River so that we can be able to point it to the source of the pollution. And hopefully that will assist us in terms of addressing the issue of the Vaal River pollution, but generally the pollution in our country that is reached crisis proportions, in my view. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I would like just to provide a bit more detail on some of the questions. Firstly, on Hammanskraal. The reason why the people in Hammanskraal are not able to use the water that's in their piped water system is because of the problem of the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works, which has been dysfunctional. It was not maintained for a very long time, and it is badly polluting the Arpies River. Downstream of the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works, there is the Tembo water treatment works. These are both facilities of Tshwane municipality. They're not our facilities, they're Tshwane municipality's facility. Tshwane municipality abstracts water from the Arpies River through the Tembo water treatment works. That water is so polluted from the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works that the Tembo water treatment works is not able to treat it so that it meets drinking water quality standards. And it's for that reason why Tshwane has been informing for a long time now the residents of Hammanskraal that they must not drink the water coming out of the taps because it doesn't meet drinking water standards. So the solution, the Deputy Minister Mahlobo talked about the temporary solution that we're doing with Magalies Water. The permanent solution is for the city of Tshwane to repair its Rooiwal wastewater treatment works, and you'll be aware there have been newspaper reports about it. There was an initial project which was where the contractor left site and which was now a subject of investigation. The city of Tshwane has now appointed another contractor. As the Minister indicated, we visited there. The work is progressing well to repair the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works. It also needs to be upgraded. There's been huge population growth in the Tshwane area. The amount of sewage going into this wastewater treatment works is more than it can handle, so that the city of Tshwane also needs to use its urban settlements development grant that it gets from the national government to upgrade the capacity of that wastewater treatment works. So those are all the responsibilities of the city of Tshwane. Once it's done all of those things and it's no longer polluting the Arpies River, and the Tembo water treatment works can treat the water so that it meets drinking water quality standards, then the people of Hammanskraal can then drink again the water that's in their taps. In the meantime, we've gone over and above our normal role as the national department in terms of our constitutional responsibilities, in terms of making an allocation with Treasury approval to Magalies Water to build additional treatment capacity at its own water treatment works, which doesn't normally supply Hammanskraal, but which is near Hammanskraal, the package plant that we talked about, so that it can then link into the City of Tshwane's water distribution system, put drinking water there that meets drinking water quality standards, so that in the meantime there can be drinking water put into the system in Tshwane. That work has progressed well. It's been fast-tracked. It's a major project. If you visit that Magalies wastewater treatment works, you'll see the size of that project. We've made over 700 million rand available to Magalies Water to build that package plant. A facility like that can't be built overnight. So as indicated by the Minister, it's being built in 4 phases. The first phase, which will provide 12.5 megalitres of water, as indicated by the Deputy Minister, will be finished by the 15th or 16th of November. The next phase will be done by the end of February, the phase after that the end of April, and the 4th phase by the end of June next year. It's going to take longer than that for Tshwane to repair the Rooiwal wastewater treatment works. If you visit that wastewater treatment works, you will see that that's also a massive wastewater treatment works, and there is huge work underway currently to refurbish that wastewater treatment works. So this temporary measure that we're going to put in place will, over the next period between middle November and the end of June, provide drinking water into Hammanskraal's water distribution system, but not as much as is actually required, as indicated by the Deputy Minister. That additional amount needs to come from the normal Tshwane system, which is from the Temba water treatment works. Just an addition on the pollution of the Vaal River system. Rand Water is very capable in terms of treating water. So even though the water in the integrated Vaal River system is polluted, largely through sewage pollution from municipalities, that water is properly treated before it is supplied to residents in Gauteng. Rand Water consistently meets the drinking water quality standards and testing done by itself and by the department periodically. So residents of Gauteng don't need to worry that their water is not safe to drink, the water that is supplied through Rand Water, because of the sewage pollution problem. However, this problem is making it more expensive for Rand Water to treat the water. The more polluted the water is, the more expensive it is to treat the water. And in the end, it's the residents of Gauteng who have to pay for that more expensive treated water, because municipalities need to get the money from the tariffs that they charge residents for the water, and then they need to use that money to pay Rand Water for the water which Rand Water supplies. There was one question about the losses in Johannesburg and what is our plan to fix them. Fixing the leaking pipes in Johannesburg is the responsibility of the City of Johannesburg. It's not the responsibility of the national government, and we can't, as the national department, produce a plan for Tshwane, for the City of Johannesburg to fix its leaks. Only the city can produce that plan. We are also not allowed to spend money on fixing the leaks as the national department in Johannesburg's distribution system. We're not voted any money by Parliament to fix leaks in municipal distribution systems, because it's constitutionally the responsibility of municipalities to operate and maintain their water distribution systems. And Parliament doesn't vote us any money for that, because municipalities are supposed to use the revenues that they get from the sale of water to maintain and operate their water distribution systems. So if we were to try and go and fix leaks in Johannesburg's distribution systems, it would be immediately classified as irregular and unauthorized expenditure, because we don't have a budget to do that. However, having said that, as indicated by the Minister and Deputy Minister, we are regularly engaging with all the municipalities in Gauteng, as is Rand Water, and encouraging them to fix and repair the leaks, and both politically and at senior administrative level, with the support of National Treasury, which has also assisted the City of Johannesburg to put in place a water and sanitation turnaround strategy. There was an article about that in News 24 recently, which is quite a far-reaching turnaround strategy, which includes elements such as making sure that at least most of the revenue from the sale of water in Johannesburg goes to Johannesburg Water, so that Johannesburg Water can do more to fix the leaks. To provide more detail on the progress with Giyani, I think the first point to make is that, yes, there are still people in some areas of Giyani which are receiving intermittent water supply because of the poor functionality of the old water distribution system in Giyani. The project that we are implementing in Giyani is a massive project. It's a multi-billion rand project, and it's huge and has to be done in phases. So the first phase, which was to build the bulk pipeline from Nandoni Dam to Nsami Dam in Giyani, was completed in I think about March this year. The second phase, so there isn't enough water in Giyani to supply water to all the villages in Giyani. So we had to build a huge pipeline, a 40-kilometer pipeline from Nandoni Dam to get additional water to Giyani. That water then needs to be treated in a treatment works. We had to refurbish the Giyani water treatment works, and it also has to be upgraded so that it can supply more water to the villages in Giyani. The refurbishment of the water treatment works was completed in June of this year. Once those two things are in place, we were then able to work with Mopani District Municipality to start reticulating. And the reticulation work is huge. There's a construction of 325 kilometers of bulk pipelines. There's construction of reservoirs, valves, and all the necessary ancillaries in order to supply 55 villages over a vast area around Giyani. The construction of the 325 kilometers of bulk pipelines is 76%. And then, in addition to the bulk reticulation work, then there's also reticulation work to actual household connections. And there we're doing that in first phases, we're doing that in two phases, the first phase of which involves reticulating water to household connections in 24 out of 55 villages. And so far to date, 11 of those villages have been supplied with water. So it's not correct to say that nothing is happening in Giyani and that nobody's getting water in Giyani from this project. You can go and visit those 11 villages and you will see the household connections that have been put in place. Yes, there are still villages which need to get the new water supply, and they're going to be done as we finished phase 1, which is due to be finished by the end of this year, by December. And then phase 2 will start next year, and phase 2 has to be only started next year for several reasons. One is that we need to upgrade the water treatment works so that it can supply additional water. And secondly, that there are already approximately 30 contractors employed by the Mopani District Municipality. So the amount of work to be done is huge, and that's why it had to be broken down into phases. With regard to Middle Letaba Dam, there was a question as to why we aren't using our own capacity, why we have an investigation underway. We did use our own capacity to initially do an investigation into the allegations that farmers in the area are using more water than they're allowed to in terms of their water use license. Our finding as the department was that that was not the case. We engaged with the communities about it in the area. They were skeptical of our findings, and for that reason the former minister agreed with the community that an independent investigation would be done. That explains why an independent investigation would be done. It's quite a complex issue. There are a number of possible reasons why there isn't enough water in the Middle Letaba system to supply all the needs. One of the reasons might be simply the location of the dam and the amount of and the way that the catchment for the dam is operating, the amount of water that is coming into the dam, which means that there simply isn't enough water in that area. We have been investigating potential alternatives for trying to supply additional water into the Middle Letaba Dam, including looking at diverting the Klein Letaba River so that it will discharge into the Middle Letaba Dam, and also reducing losses by replacing a canal system from Middle Letaba Dam to Nsami with a pipeline. And we're also exploring more groundwater for use in the area. So we do intend in future to increase the supply of water to that area. One last thing that I'd like to just elaborate a bit more about is that the Minister and the Deputy Minister mentioned that we are partnering with civil society and with business leaders in Gauteng. We have agreed between ourselves, Rand Water, the municipalities, civil society leaders and business leaders to establish something called the Platform for Water Secure Gauteng. It's an independent platform, and the aim of that platform is to provide information to residents in Gauteng about the water situation on a live basis, and we recently launched a a database or an information source on our website where residents can get good detailed information about what's happening with the water supply in Gauteng. But also importantly, we've discussed between the different stakeholders what are the causes of the water supply disruptions in Gauteng and what needs to be done about them. And we've reached consensus in that meeting. And it's been agreed that it's not a problem that can be solved by one party alone. It's not a problem that's only going to be solved by us completing Lesotho Highlands Phase 2. It's not a problem that's only going to be solved by Johannesburg and the other municipalities fixing the leaks. The residents of Gauteng also need to play a role. The average consumption of water in Gauteng is much higher than the international average. It's not sustainable in the long term. South Africa is a water-scarce country. Gauteng is a particularly dry area in a water-scarce country. We have to spend huge amounts of money, billions and billions of rands, bringing water all the way from the highlands of Lesotho because there simply isn't enough water here in Gauteng. We can't keep building more and more dams in Gauteng to supply more and more water to Gauteng, especially as well with the fact that climate change might worsen the situation in terms of us having droughts in future as well. So in order to be sustainable, we need to reduce the average consumption of water in Gauteng, and we all have a role to play in that regard. And that's why the Minister, for example, has been emphasizing the need for the municipalities to implement restrictions. And this platform for Water Secure Gauteng is going to be a platform through which all the stakeholders try and put this message across to residents in Gauteng, that every single individual, every single household has a responsibility to use water more sparingly. Otherwise, there isn't going to be enough water to go around, and some people will continue to use a lot, the people in the low-lying areas, while people in the high-lying areas, when demand exceeds supply, will not have any water. Thank you.
Before we go to online questions, any other question in the room? Two. I'll take you and Zola.
Considering the fact that the ministry has been meeting up with the province, Gauteng, and the municipalities, and also coming up with all the solutions to deal with the current Gauteng water crisis or water problem, should Gauteng residents expect a day zero? Is there gonna be a day where taps run dry in Gauteng?
Thank you very much, Zola.
I'll actually add on what Thomas has just said. So I wanted to understand how bad is the water crisis in the Gauteng province, because Gauteng Premier Banyaza Lesotho said a level 1 restriction can actually solve the problem, while the deputy president then said a level 2 or 3 will be needed to ensure that the Gauteng province does not get to the day where their taps run dry. The last question is that the Limpopo province has asked for an urgent intervention following the president's visit in Limpopo, where they told the president that they haven't had water in some areas for over a year, and nothing is really being done by their respective municipalities. What are your interventions as a department to ensure that you address those challenges?
Is that it? Ishmael, can you assist us with online questions?
Thank you, Chair. We have Tando Michael from Business Day. Minister, what is the time frame for municipalities to complete the 22 billion rand debt owed to water boards? What are the repayment terms, and what are the penalties for defaulting, if any? And how is the ministry assisting the municipalities to repay the debt? The last question from Tando. How much funding SA has requested from the AFDB, DBSA, and World Bank for the water investment program? We also have Arthur from Hut FM. Minister, can you give the time frame to conclude the construction of the Train William Dam, and what's the current cost? And the dam has collapsed at the Swartland municipality, and the dam owner has not responded to media inquiries. Do you believe that the owner will comply with the directive the department has issued? Thank you, that's all.
Thank you very much. I'll be guided by the leadership. Okay. Dear Mahlobo, we'll take the first questions. Thanks.
We have agreed our minister will deal with Gauteng again and then teach you with the funding issues. I will deal with the issues of Limpopo. That province, including Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, in the main, they have the biggest populations. And just generally from an infrastructure point of view, they were not developed by apartheid government. And there is always a backlog, whether it's water, whether it's sanitation, you can name them. When we met with the leadership of Limpopo, because we're not meeting for the first time, one of the things in Limpopo we're trying to answer, where water will come from. That's the first question we must answer. The people of Mopani, people of Vembe, everywhere, we've answered the question that the source we have, that has the capacity to give them water, is the Nandoni Dam. That's why Minister went there, Deputy President went there, Premier, even President went there. That intervention of supporting that province around just the question of Mopani, Vembe, it's happening. Also, we're answering to say where water will come from around Mosina Makado. Remember, Mosina Makado were actually going to be drawing the water from Zimbabwe around the Bay Bridge. We're finalizing the issue of the DBSA, that they will be our implementing agent, because that particular area can be very, very dry on the basis of higher temperatures. And normally, those of you who knows the Limpopo River, there was a time there was a drought over a long period. And people can just crawl there. You can just cross. But just over the last 2.5 years, we've been having good rains. Normally, the rains are around the 15th of December until in February. Therefore, the water will come from Mosina. We're looking at the possibility of the Mutale Dam, but we also have to do some studies around the possibility of catching water from the Limpopo River itself, where you can do an off-channel dam, but managing the issues of siltation. Then when you come on to the other region, Goskukun, there's the Diop Dam there. That Diop Dam is one of the dams we built ourselves, is full. That dam already work has been undertaken, working on a new implementation platform where governments work with private sector. In this case, the mines have came together, the Libalelo Water Use Association, all the mines there, and then they came together with the department. We also work with the provincial government and municipality on what we call it Funds Management Model, where that contribution, where the water will be treated in terms of infrastructure, a number of pipelines, people in Skukune, your Nebo Plateau, you go until you go to Mukalakwena via Capricorn District. This is where the water will be coming from, just to help Limpopo. Not that we don't have a plan. But if you look at the people here around Yolipalal, all these other areas around the Waterberg, there's a project that is being implemented by the department working with Machalis Water and TCTA. It's called Mukolo Crocodile West River Augmentation Project. They call MAQUAP. That project already we have got funding from the infrastructure fund of a particular funding that is there, and TCTA is looking for the money. That we are looking at the question of from the private sector. The mines there and energy solution, remember there's energy component, the power station. They will have no problem, but those communities, as long as the pipelines, they pass communities, no community will be left behind. There's that particular area where water will come from in Limpopo. In Limpopo, you are also having a Polokwane, that is their capital. You have an Ebenezer Oliphant Sport that is being implemented, increasing the capability of the system, looking at the Ebenezer Dam that is there, costing us more than 5 billion. Already those first things, when President established the infrastructure office in his office, we're able to get the money when we actually work with National Treasurer to do some of those particular issues. But there are many of them, including the use of groundwater that is there. We are answering the question to see the issue of water security in that particular province. And this ministry is working around the clock to support them. But in Limpopo, there's something which we call it misalignment around planning. You know what happens? You can plan for bulk in terms of water security. After we have planned for bulk, you find that municipalities have not planned for reticulation. Or sometimes they started to put a reticulation or distribution network underground, while at the very same time they've not addressed the question of bulk. You know, one thing that we discovered when we went to Limpopo Ministry intervened, in Mopane as an example, we brought water from Nandoni. When we brought water from Nandoni, because we knew that they were broke, we gave them the money to reticulate villages. Guess what? Their treatment plants were not ready. We had to actually put additional money just to fix up their treatment plant. Because if you can't treat the water, even if you have the water with these pipes, you will not have a situation where you need to do that. There's a lot of these issues around alignment that are being attended to. But we need to agree that the people of Limpopo, they deserve better. Now that the matter has been placed in terms of being a priority matter by both the president, the minister, and the premier, we should be able to work with them side by side to be able to cater not only just for water for drinking, but the economic potential that exists in that particular province. But we will not be able to give you more details here because it will end up being one province at a time, and then some of the information. But we are very pleased to say that matter is being prioritized. In terms of funding, Limpopo is an example of a private-public partnership. That happens with the mines everywhere. We even solved their sewer problems, Minister. There's a mine called Ivan Plants there. Ivan Plants, they came in for free. They built the top of the range facility, a wastewater treatment plant for them. They only ask one thing from the municipality, just give us more effluent, give us more sewer. In other words, connect more people. In other words, housing development will happen. Anglo is doing the same. And we're looking at other models because Minister said we must look on her behalf the issues with the DG around how a private sector can play a role. Whether Northern Cape everywhere will be able to share with you to say this problem of water, government alone, without the support of a private sector, NGOs, people in research and development, will not be able to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. The Glen William Dam, we're raising that wall with 13 meters. And I must admit here that there were delays in terms of design. That project worth 6.8 billion. It started in 2018 to be completed in 2028. The construction of that dam now is standing at 22%. Should we expect day zero in Gauteng? No. As I said that if Gauteng attend, all municipalities attend to loss of water, then the issue of Gauteng in terms of the challenge of water will be resolved. And I said, since we met with them, remember we implemented in September 18, we have put Gauteng on level 1. And by 18 of October, at the time, they seemed not to have known that they are on level 1. They were doing things normal. We had to meet with them to say, now we can go to level 2 if you don't address what we said you must address on level 1. With the program that is led by the Premier and the MEC, they are attending to those. Hence, on Saturday newsroom hours with newsroom on Saturday, we were at Brixton water treatment plant and reservoir where Johannesburg is saying we have to build 10 more because we want to respond to these illegal connections by bringing water reservoirs closer. The area of Brixton, for instance, it is in the upper lying area, and therefore they don't get water, and they will have stable water once that reservoir has been completed, and they are fast tracking that payment plan with the water board. We do write off the interest, but if they are not, we continue with the interest that they must serve. So we have made that that incentive that if you come up with your clear payment plan, then we are going to write off the interest. On Swartland, 4 collapsed dam. In line with Paja, we had to write to the owners of those dams. Remember, there were pre-owners of the dam, then the Department of Rural Development came in, then there were other owners, etc. So we have written to all of them who are affected, from the first person who came up with the dam and those who added more dams. So they've responded because we made findings, damning findings in terms of our preliminary report, and they've responded to that. We are looking at their responses because part of the challenge there, the municipality is a very small municipality, and that municipality is saying we are unable to rebuild the infrastructure because of what happened in August, and therefore they must take responsibility. So we are engaging with them on that, but also municipality and as well as the provincial government of Western Cape, we are handling the matter. That is why we had to act immediately by decommissioning those dams to say we have to save our communities. There will be summer rains, and if you still have those dams, we're going to have a challenge where the riverlands might be flooded once more. So we are dealing with that. Did you want to talk on the World Bank? All right, thank you.
We, as a national department, we don't have borrowing powers. For the national government, National Treasury is the only body which borrows on behalf of the national government. Individual government departments can't borrow money. So we don't borrow any money from either the Development Bank or from the World Bank. National Treasury sometimes borrows money from the World Bank and uses that money for various purposes. And it may be that that comes into our budget, but that's done by National Treasury. However, we do work very closely with the Development Bank of Southern Africa in a variety of ways. Firstly, the DBSA often lends money to municipalities, which municipalities use for water and sanitation projects. We also have an entity called the TCTA, or Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, which raises money on the markets and from development finance institutions for projects, such as, for example, the Lesotho Highlands Phase 2 project, the 42 billion project that the Minister talked about. All the money for that is being raised by the TCTA in the markets and from development finance institutions. The TCTA has in the past also borrowed some money from the Development Bank of Southern Africa, as well as from other development finance institutions. As indicated by Deputy Minister Mahlobo, we also work very closely with the Infrastructure Fund. The Infrastructure Fund is an entity which is housed in the Development Bank, which was set up by President Ramaphosa a few years ago. And its role is to assist departments like us to put together blended finance projects, which are a mixture of government funding and private sector finance. So, for example, the Infrastructure Fund is working with us and our water board in KZN and the TCTA to help us to put together a blended finance solution for the Umkomazi water project, the 28 billion rand project that the Minister talked about, which will be partially funded by government and partially funded by bonds issued by the TCTA. We also have in partnership with the DBSA and with the South African Local Government Association, or SALGA, we've established an entity which is also housed in the DBSA called the Water Partnerships Office. And that entity focuses on assisting municipalities to structure projects to take to the market for the private sector to invest in municipal water and sanitation. So their job is to assist municipalities to develop bankable projects to take to the market so they can raise private sector finance for things like water reuse and non-revenue water reduction projects by drawing on private sector finance. Thank you very much.
I think that's it for the day. Thank you very much for attending. See you next time. Thanks.